Hey everyone. So, how did I get to the point where I can sense and move energy? Well, let's go back in time a bit. I once saw myself in comparison to family members as a bookish person, nerdy, probably still am that in my own way. But I admit that when my great grandmother would be doing energy healing on a family member or myself, I always kind of, at that time, didn't really get it. It seemed like otherworldly, and since nobody ever sat down and talked to me about it in detail and explained what it was about and just the science behind it, as well as the herbal medicine behind it, as well as the natural ability that was evident in some of the people who practiced this, including my great grandmother and some relatives. I just because that hadn't happened. I did not get it. And so it took years of doing energy practices like yoga, like Tai Chi and Qigong. And I really did learn a lot about how energy works in the body through Qigong. That was an eye-opening experience for me. But either way, doing these practices opened my mind up to, okay, there's something here, especially when I'd heard about yoga's, the background of yoga and the concept of lines of energy. All those things start to come together in my mind, and I gathered them each together almost like puzzle pieces with what my great grandmother used to do. And I just went, okay, there's something here. So I need to look deeply into it, because then I became fascinated. And I would say that after doing these energy practices and then working with energy healers, and these are people who have a natural gift, not somebody who went and trained to do Reiki, although I have access to that, and that's beautiful work. But working with people who are naturally gifted, don't have a particular protocol that they learned at a school, there's something different about that. And so I learned from working with people like that the body was a huge part of the process. And I remember one of the most vibrantly alive moments that I've ever felt in my life is from being a participant in a group energy healing experience where the somatic awareness of your body was part of the process, and so was breath work. And I walked away from that experience just exuberant in a way that I just had never known before. And, once you have an experience like that, if it's anything that's remotely interesting to you, then you're going to dig in even more, which I did. So now I can say that a lot of the things that I've learned and experienced, I have now integrated into my life. And energy practices and somatic awareness within that context are now part of my daily way of taking care of myself. But it's also how how I manage my reaction to the challenges in my life and my reactions to the things that I see happening in society and currently in our government right now, as well as the world. And I know that many of you probably can relate to this. If you are sensitive in any way, you're looking at your life and you're looking at what's going on in the world, and you're like, oh, how? And I will say this, it is not easy. What's happening now is not easy. But I have found a way to tap into that part of me that is connected to all that is. That helps me cope with it and helps me keep perspective. And in many cases, when I take the time, I am convinced I have the capacity to pulse out energy that I hope has a positive effect on people who are making critical decisions, or at least it ripples out from the people that I engage with, who then have it ripple out from them, which is something I believe. But I will say that sensing and moving energy is about allowing yourself to trust your intuition and your imagination. And in the context of learning how to do that, I tapped into an untapped gift that I didn't know I had. And I don't think I'm the only person who can do this, because if me, the bookish, nerdy one, who didn't really understand or get this stuff when I was younger, can now sense and move my own energy, and in many cases can sense what's going on with people, especially with children. This is not something that is only for special people. I believe that most of us can learn how to do this if we take the time and if we regularly practice at it. So I will share this as an explanation of how these things show up in your life. Another example of an untapped gift that showed up in my life was I decided to go back to school as an adult, and I was studying design and art. And in my very first drawing class, the teacher explained or taught us the concepts of gesture drawing. And I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know much about the why of it. But she explained it, and then she immediately got us in front of the easel, in front of a pad of paper, and she invited a life model to come in. He sat in the middle of the room and disrobed, and we were asked to gesture draw what we saw in him. And she reminded us, think about the impulse that caused him to get into a pose, and possibly the impulse of what his next movement might be. And so the moment she said that, something in me galvanized. And chalk in hand, I walked up to my easel and to that pad of paper, and I made this swoosh in a matter of seconds. And I backed away, and I knew that I was done, which, as someone who up until that moment wasn't really a visual artist, I just was giving myself the chance to become one. I was kind of stunned. And then the teacher passed by me as she was walking around the room, and she looked at my drawing, and she picked up my pad, and she walked around the room, and she said, "This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about." And I was like, kind of, like I said, surprised by my own reaction to what I created. But when she had her reaction, I was like, okay, what did I just do? And I realize now, it took me a while, that what I was able to do with gesture drawing was to tap into the energy of this person. And I didn't allow my thoughts to get in the way, or my insecurities about whether I can draw or not. And so in that moment, I found out I had an ability to see people in a certain way that could turn into art. But the key point was that I could see people in a certain way. And doing energy work and paying attention to your body in a certain way is part of the untapped gifts, I believe, that humanity could learn right now. And so I invite you to think about these concepts about moving yourself into a place where you invite that kind of going within to discover what you can sense, what you can move, and what you can change for yourself. And in terms of how you deal with your daily challenges, your life challenges, and how you deal with what's happening in the world, this could be something that can help. And so, since you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you probably have the capacity for this type of untapped gift. So the thing, though, is to be ready to engage with yourself on that level. So thank you for watching this video. If this is something that interests you, definitely keep watching and like the video below, as well as subscribe. And if you're interested in working with me, my information is in the description. And be well. Thanks for watching.